You're listening to 515, the Ultra Podcast, the show that invites you into the lives of people who make up the Ultra family. Here's your host for these conversations, Larry Ryan.
Thanks, MJ. Most people have someone who introduces them to Ultra. In a roundabout way, today's Ohana guest can credit a frisky boat captain, which led to her abandoning a boat at 2 a.m., swimming 3 miles to shore, and setting the table for the next 13 years of her life. My guest today did her first triathlon in 1993 in Puerto Rico, and by 1999 was Puerto Rican national triathlon champion. During her career, she has finished more than 450 multi-sport events, including dozens of single, double, and triple iron distance events. Starting in 1998, she raced the Hawaiian Ultraman 15 consecutive times with 12 official finishes and 5 age group wins, and a second place finish numerous times. Joining me from her home in California, welcome to the 515 podcast. This is Suzy Degazon.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. Thank you so much for coming and doing this and sharing your stories with our podcast listeners. What part of California are you in?
I'm in Southern California, about a 20 minute bike ride from the base of Mount Baldy and about a 40-minute bike ride from Pasadena, Glendora.
Okay, yeah. So, I was just saying that you have this amazing Ultraman career with 15 consecutive races, and I definitely want to talk to you about that. But first of all, I'd like to go back further in time and just get a little more information about you as a younger person and maybe what you were doing as a young person and how you turned and got into the ultra sports, just so we have a little more background on you. So tell me if I have this correct. As a younger person, as young people do, you started out backpacking and went to Bangkok and Southeast Asia. And while you were there traveling, you had to do a little bit of work, get some money, and you started working on scuba diving boats. Is that correct?
Kind of.
Okay.
I actually decided to go to Bangkok. I think I was 25 years old when I took that backpacking trip, and I was trying to find myself. And I am a professional pastry chef by trade. So I started off in Bangkok, and then I went to the Maldives, and I've always wanted to be a fish in the ocean. And so I did my first dive in the Maldives, and it was in a small island called Hudaveli. And my lesson was basically hold my hand and keep breathing and squeeze my hand if you have a problem. I didn't want to squeeze this lady's hand because it was so gorgeous. Without telling too much of my other background, I just was mesmerized that there was nobody shouting or talking to me, and I could just see sharks and turtles and beautiful colored fish. I felt at peace.
Oh, yeah.
And then I left there and I went to Singapore, and I bought myself an underwater camera, thinking that when I go to Australia, I'll learn how to take pictures. And then I went to Bali. And then from Bali, I went to Australia. And Australia, I got all the way up to Queensland, and I got myself a job in a working tug. Good old mashed potatoes and, solid food for these guys. I went all the way down to New South Wales. All I had to do was make sure these guys were fed.
Yeah.
And I got to New South Wales. There was a problem with the boat, and it needed welding. And I don't weld, and I really don't scuba dive a little bit. So I went in with one of the guys that did and helped him weld the hole in the boat. And I was able to have enough fortune to be able to have the money to go back to Queensland, where I started work on marlin boats, dive boats, and I briefly had a job on Lizard Island as a pastry chef.
Oh, wow. Okay. So while you were working these dive boats, I understand that you kind of ended up in Puerto Rico for a long time. How
there's
is
a big chunk out of that.
Oh, did I miss a big chunk? Okay.
Huge. Because when I went back from Australia, then I traveled like Hawaii, Fiji, Hawaii. I came to Santa Monica. the States, went back to England. And when I got back to England, I realized that I didn't want to be a pastry chef.
Mm.
So I decided I wanted to be scuba instructor, and became a fully fledged scuba instructor and got myself a job in Cayman Islands.
Okay.
I wanted to go back to Australia. I tried to get a work permit so I could go live in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
And while I was waiting for the permit, I got my job in Cayman on the Cayman Island aggressor. And I had to have a medical done. I had my medical done in Cayman. Then I went to Homestead, Florida to get some dental work done, and Hurricane Andrew hit. So I was in Florida for a little while I was trying to help out with the hurricane relief. I went back to Cayman, and my visa there had expired. And there was a 5K run. So I did this 5K run, and I won a ticket to go to Turks and Caicos.
Oh.
And so I went, go Turks and Caicos, because I don't have a visa anymore. So I got to Turks and Caicos, and I'm still waiting for my result from my medical. When I get to Turks and Caicos, I asked somebody at the airport if I could sleep in the shop, and I could work as a dive instructor while I was waiting, and they said yes. And then I also helped out in some other boats over there. Then I decided it's getting close. I need to get to St. John because I was going to meet some people there, and we were going to sail back to Australia with my visa in my hand. So I take a lift on a boat in the Dominican Republic. From the Dominican Republic, I take another lift to Puerto Rico, and then from Puerto Rico, I will go to St. John. However, when the boat, when this captain kind of took me to Puerto Rico, he decided that he wanted to have his way with me, and I didn't think that was cool. So I jumped over the side of the boat at 2:00 in the morning, and I swam to Boca Raton, Puerto Rico, in the pitch dark. And they have houses on the water there, and one of these guys let me in. I could stay the night, and then the next day I was able to take care of my affairs, getting everything off the boat. And then from there, all my mail was redirected to Puerto Rico, and I found out that due to the applicant's hearing loss, we feel that she would be a burden on public funding, and so I wasn't able to get my visa for Australia. Oh. So now I'm stuck in Puerto Rico. That's my story. There you go. Because of my hearing loss that I did not know I had, I was refused my I always refused my visa for Australia. Oh, wow. And I applied as a pastry chef. I didn't apply as a dive instructor. I applied to go there as a pastry chef. Okay. Which I do not need my ears to cook with.
Yeah, that's a shame. Wow.
And then I'm stuck in Puerto Rico, and I couldn't do anything there. I mean, I had to, there was a beach there, a 1 mile beach of white sand, and I would swim every morning. The local people were very nice. Someone lent me a lady 3-speed back pedal bike, so I could get to the hearing to recheck my ears. So I'm riding a bike, and I'm swimming every day. I'm getting to know the people, and there was a 10K run, and I said I would like to do the 10K run. So there was me and another friend, and this person was going to give us a lift to Cabo Rojo, where the 10K was. And I won my age group. I'm like, woo, I had a big trophy. I still have it. And so this guy came over to me and said, hey, you're a good runner. You know, maybe you'd like to train as a runner. And I said, oh, no. I'm going to be a triathlete. I found out that there's a triathlon in Vega Baja, and I'm going to go there. And he goes, well, what do you need? I said, oh, I have everything. I have that. He goes, that's a lady's back speed bike. You don't use those kind of bikes for triathlon. No, but you don't. So he ended up buying me a pair of running shoes, this running coach, and took me to a friend of his, Julio Montalvo in San German. And he lent me a racing bike, a Valmaza. And I found myself 2 weeks later getting in a taxi, going to Vega Baja with a bicycle, running shoes, and having no clue of anything. I couldn't even get the water bottle out because I couldn't go up the handlebars. I was not clipped in. and ended up doing my first triathlon based on meeting a random person who thought I could be a good runner, from lending me a bicycle and going to do a triathlon. And that's how I started triathlons. I loved it.
Oh, wow. Just
Crazy,
that
yeah?
generosity of strangers that changed your life for you.
Yeah, even crazier is in Cabo Rojo, when I took the Publico to Vega Baja, they stop at one place and they stop to eat something. And they stopped for quite a while, and I'm all squashed up with all these people in a little car. And I see a gentleman there with his family with a bike on the roof back. And I said, "Are you going to the triathlon too?" And he said, "Yes." And then I said, "I'm going there too. I'm in the Publico." He goes, "Well, we'll take you. Let me ask my wife." And so I get in the car with these kids, the wife, guy, and we all go together. As we're going, he gives me a rundown on how triathlon is, what a sprint triathlon is. I have no clue, nothing. I'm completely oblivious. And what I did remember him telling me was there was an Ironman races, but women don't do those. British person here thinking, okay, what on earth is an Ironman? So I get to the race, I do the race, and I get a lift back with another gentleman who unfortunately passed away. Name is Buck Bendine, and he was telling me about racing, and I started training with him because he was close by. And that was 93, and in 94 I went and did the Vineman in Northern Cal.
Yeah.
With I don't know how I did that. I just got through it mile by mile, I guess. But I remember stopping at the railway tracks and getting off my bike because I thought you had to walk your bike over the railway tracks. I was clueless. And I met a really nice lady there called Nancy Valance, who put me up in her home because I couldn't afford the hotel. I got off, and it wasn't like today when you go into an Ironman, there's so much hoopla and so many people.
Right.
In 94, I don't think anybody knew there was an Ironman taking place in that area. But lucky for me, I seem to line myself up with the right people. And
you just happen upon these people that want to give you things and give you a place to stay and rides.
Give you a place to stay would be a better word.
Jobs and amazing.
So I'm pretty lucky. I feel very blessed.
So you end up finding these nice people that set you up with all these triathlon gear and stuff, but you do end up living there for 13 years.
Yes, I do.
So what is going on in those, some people, they go to find themselves and they backpack and they do it for a year or two, but you ended up staying for 13 years. Tell me what is happening in Puerto Rico that keeps you there for 13 years, and what was your life like in Puerto Rico? Because I think, as what I understood, is like you weren't living a life of luxury there.
No, not at all. When I first got there, I really wanted to get my visa sorted out and get my medical straightened out.
Right.
So I spent the first couple of weeks just trying to sort out my life, calling my parents and trying to think what was the next move. I had already been around the world in tropical vacations, but I've never heard of Puerto Rico. I've no idea. I don't even know where Puerto Rico is.
Right.
And in Bocaron, there was a few people like my age, and there was a local dive shop there. And the dive shop, Bocaron dive shop, those people really took me in like family. And the whole thing about Puerto Rico is very family orientated, and so people are always willing to help. They're friendly people, But yes, I was borrowed lent this bike, so I would cycle everywhere trying to get my hearing done, and then I met some American people on the beach that were into triathlon and swimming, and I was just crazy. I cleaned houses for Bob and Nancy Schutler. They were really helpful people. I just got stuck. One day I woke up and it's 13 years later, and 13 years of my life had just gone by, and I honestly thought that I would die in Puerto Rico. I lived at the very end, when I lived there, the most part was above rice and beans on the triangle where all the roads intersect. I lived above Rice and Beans, and there were
Rice and
so
Beans
many
was
termites.
a restaurant?
It's a restaurant, and there were so many termites in that little pink building that if you wanted to make a new window, you could just punch a hole in the wood, and you could have a new wall and a new window. And then in the ceiling, we had bats. So I had guano poop that would come down through.
Oh, wow.
So like the electricity points and stuff. I mean, I kept it very clean, and I remember getting a lot of people together, and we cleaned. We painted all the walls with potatoes, the potatoes and paint. And
Right, yeah.
It looked like, I don't know, a Monet or, something really kind of cool. But yeah, it was very, my apartment for sure had one major room, but the bathroom was concrete. Everything else was wood. Yeah, I started doing, so like 93, I did that run. And then I started in the community of triathletes. And I was like, I would cycle every day to see a friend of mine. His name was Bauke Bendine. And unfortunately, he passed away with a heart failure a few years back. But he became my mentor and one of my best friends for training. And I would cycle 15 miles to his work. And he was from Holland. So he'd have a big spread of food at midday. So I would go and I would eat something on my bike and I would come back home. I didn't have an oven, so I couldn't cook at home. So I had a fridge and I lived on peanut butter and pan de agua bread. And my lifestyle was just triathlon, run, swim, bike, I tried to help the scuba shop. And in return, they bought me food. So I helped them with the paddy and stuff. Mm-hmm. I also paid money to go and get all my certifications up to date. But yeah, it was really difficult. Those years in Puerto Rico, I had a lot of fun, but I wasn't exactly putting any money away in the bank.
Right.
I was living day to day by, helping people in return for food or a lift somewhere. It was pretty heavy some days. Mm-hmm. I think I was in Rincon and I was intrigued, I should say, by Hawaiian Tropic, who used to sponsor me. And there was all these guys and they all had a story, so they were very religious, they were Christians. And I was intrigued by their stories and their athleticism, like a boxer and a wrestler. And I was like, oh, I wonder if he would sponsor me. So I went over and his name was John Foster. He gave me his card and he said, well, here's my card. Just let me know if you need anything. And so I got to meet him again. And he goes, what do you need? Because we really don't sponsor athletes. I said, I just want a pair of running shoes. That's all you want, just a pair of running shoes.
Yeah.
And from that moment, I was lucky enough to be sponsored by Hawaiian Tropic for a while.
Wow. And I saw on your list of things that you've done that you were the Hawaiian Tropic International Athlete of the Year one year. What does that entail? That sounds like a pinup model kind of honor.
So I was with Hawaiian Tropic a long time. And not only did I represent them in sport, but I would go to various functions that they had, like 24-hour walks, and with the booth and hand out products. I even painted one of those big pop-up bottles that they had. I painted one of those. But basically, I represented the brand really well. I did Ultraman a few times, Hawaiian Tropic. I went to all the islands. I ran the Trinidadian Marathon as Hawaiian Tropic girl. They were just extremely good to me. I was very lucky those years. And so when they gave me that award, that was 2006, they wanted to represent me as the Hawaiian Tropic Athlete of the Year International for all I've done, for all the races I'd been to.
That's awesome.
They were just blown away at what I'd done.
And now a few years prior to that, in 1999, you became the Puerto Rican National Triathlon Champion. Now, you'd been in Puerto Rico for a while. Were you starting to feel like a Puerto Rican? Did that title like really hold something to you? No,
I'm a Boricua. Just my cognizant is 100% Boricua. No, I could never be Puerto Rican. I would love to be Puerto Rican, but I felt
But in
like
spirit, because you were so attached to the community, did you feel like it?
I felt like I was family. Like
Yeah.
people opened their hearts to me. My friend Ard would invite me for coffee, and I just have so many beautiful memories of Puerto Rico. I thought I would never leave. I tell you, I thought I would die there. My little apartment was just full of trophies and posters from everything I'd done.
Yeah.
You know, I was blessed to meet Bauker because I would travel with him to different triathlons on the island. And with Hawaiian Tropic, I could travel off island and go to St. John and different islands to do different things.
Yeah.
So I really was having a great time. You know, I really wasn't thinking about when I get to be old, what am I going to do?
Right.
I was just living in the moment
Oh, that's
thinking
awesome.
this can't get any better than this.
Yeah.
And the downside of that is I would go home at the nighttime and I'd be by myself. And you know, sometimes it got really hard trying to think how I'm going to pay my rent and stuff like that. And I remember one day my mom saying, "The golden goose has died." I think that means you're on your own.
Yeah.
But joking apart, I just loved Puerto Rico. I loved going to the races. I felt like I'd found myself.
So what happened for you then? Why did you finally move away? Did you decide you had to grow up, or like what made you leave Puerto Rico, and did you go to California right away from there,
Well,
or did you go back to England?
I actually got married to a wonderful guy called Al Wiskovich, and I knew his sister who had visited Puerto Rico, and my husband's father lives in Cabo Rojo. And so I had met Marlene, and every time I went to Hawaii, I would stop in LA with my friend Marlene, and she introduced me to her brother, who at that time was married. I said hi and bye. And then a few years later, I stopped again to say hi, and this time he was divorced. And we got talking and we just hit it off. I went back to Puerto Rico and he kept calling me. And by the time in the period of like 7 or 8 months, I think I racked up enough air miles to be in elite status for the airlines, because I would go Puerto Rico and I would go to California, Puerto Rico, California, back and
That's
forward.
not a short flight either, is it?
It was no, it's not. It's a long, long flight with a lot of layovers.
Yeah.
And if you ask my husband, the funniest thing he ever saw was me getting up at night and opening up the fridge and going, "Oh my gosh, there's so much food in there." And they'll close the fridge because there was food, you know, like real food, not just, you know, bread and peanut butter and jelly, you know. So yeah, that's why I moved.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And have you been back since?
I have. I went back. I actually went back for an Avon thing because I used to represent Avon for breast cancer to be given a recognition for that. And then I went back when my friend Buck Bendine passed away, which actually brought me to my knees. I was very, very upset about that. And I'm way overdue. I need to go back. Really now, I want to show off my balls for my triathlete friends over there, but I do miss Puerto Rico. I love the island, and I would like to go back next year sometime and put it into my schedule.
Yeah. When we come back, Suzy will share a few stories of some of her more memorable race destinations in part 2 of the conversation. Hello, listener. I want to remind you to check out my new Ultra Tri-Fest coming to Whistler, British Columbia in August 2024. It has 5 racing formats to choose from, and the feature event will be the new Ultra 515 Worldwide Championships, in which racers from every 515 race in the world may attend. Get all the details at ultratrifestcanada.com, and feel free to contact me personally with any questions. And now, back to my conversation with Suzy. Okay, well, I think we got a pretty good background on you. a lot of people listen to this podcast because they do want to get some new ideas for new races and stuff. And as I said in the intro, you've got a ton that you've done. So I'd like to ask you about a few of the races you've done. People are always looking for that new race to do. I hear there's a new 5:15 race coming to Whistler in August of 2024. If people are listening, have you heard about that one?
I have not.
Oh, no, that's my race.
There you go.
I just got to slip that plug in for my new race coming to Whistler 2024, August, long weekend. People that are listening. So for you, you've done some amazing races. I just want to maybe hit a couple of them and you can tell me some of your favorites. But the one that I saw on your resume that looked interesting, not knowing anything about it other than it's in Costa Rica. Can you tell me what is that, the Coastal Challenge in Costa Rica?
Well, I can't remember the exact distances anymore. It's quite a while back. But that race was a blast. We went to Costa Rica and it was called the Coastal Challenge. So you had to run about a marathon or so every day. Mm-hmm. I met the most amazing people when I went to Costa Rica. And most of them were from Southern California. And I was living in Puerto Rico at that time. Anyhow, this race, we were the first people to do it. So it was a little bit like trying to catch, we were welcomed and we saw the paraphernalia and the fanfare of Costa Rica and what they do. And then it was running. And what we did was we had tents and we would run from point A to point B. Mm-hmm. And an off-road vehicle that was for cattle would put all our stuff in there and take it to the next campsite and we would run to it. Okay. And it rained every day. And I took 8 pairs of running shoes. I had a pair of shoes for every day. Oh yeah. It rained so bad that one of the guys.
Hold on now. Wait a second. Does that mean that you had 8 different sponsors buying you shoes? Because I know how you get your shoes.
Oh no! Back then I was sponsored by. I got sponsored by from Brooks Running Company, and so I had a different pair of Brooks shoes. So you're sharp and smart right there. Yeah. But yeah, it was really funny because it did rain. This was the first time it was just amazing experience. By the third day, we were all feeling our legs. There's some amazing vistas and mountains and hillsides. I'm not a great downhill runner, so downhill is often a problem. Uphill, I'm pretty niffy. But the Coastal Challenge to me was an amazing race. It was over a period of 7 days. One of my memorable experiences of that race was asking one of the guys, I was like, "Hey, Andy, are we going over that mountain? Wouldn't that be funny?" And he goes, "Where were you in the race brief?" I went, "You got to be kidding me." He goes, "Yeah, we're going to run right at the top of that." I was like, "Ouch." And then we took a zip line down. Oh, awesome. And I am so scared of heights. That is my Achilles tendon, heights. I remember screaming blue murder going down that thing. And another memorable experience was taking a boat to one of the islands just off Costa Rica, where we got permission to do the run that day there. Mm-hmm. And when we woke up, there was puma paw marks outside the tent. That was pretty cool. We had to look out for spider monkeys, which were a lot, and the coral snakes. It was just an adventure. And I think the thing that made it special was every night, the people that put it on catered for nice food outside in that kind of setting. Every day was a different course along the shoreline. It was just an amazing race in Costa Rica. I highly recommend it. If you want to go somewhere off the beaten track, Costa Rica is a great place to run.
So let's switch up from the ultra running to the ultra riding then. Tell us a little bit about this 100-mile tour that you did at Mount Baldy near you.
In the Amgen Tour. So lucky for me, it's right next door. So I'm very familiar with the roads. There is a lot of hills. When I got married, my husband was the treasurer for the SC Velo Club. So I had a lot of cyclists that I could cycle with that were not triathletes. Mm-hmm. And they often left me in the dust. I can climb, but going downhill, remember my downhill. But lucky for me, Mount Baldy was an uphill finish, and I'd never been actually in that particular event. I believe it finished at the top of Mount Baldy at the ski lifts, and I had never been to the ski lifts. And someone told me there was a wall that you hit as you go up Baldy, and I got to the post office of Baldy after already going up Glendora Mountain Road, which is near where I am, going through Azusa Canyon, going on the back roads. And they're all roads I know really well, but I don't know from the post office of Baldy to the ski lift. And that is, it's a ride. It goes up as you have switchbacks. And I try not to go over the center of the road because in some triathlons and some of the road races that I've done, should never go over the center.
Of course, yeah.
So I try to keep on the right side. It was leg crunching. I mean, quad crunching, I should say. When we got up to the wall, I'm going up there and I'm asking people where the wall is because I'm going to walk the wall. I'm already done. Right. And someone said, "You're on the wall." I'm like, "Oh, I'll keep on pedaling." I was so out of it, but it was a hard race, and I was really felt like you did something to finish it. You know, I mean, it wasn't easy.
Yeah.
No, that's Baldy for you. But I do the 200 milers here in California. We have triple crowns.
Oh yeah.
And so if you do a 200-mile race, and if you do 3 in 1 year, you get yourself a triple crown jersey.
Oh.
It's in California.
So and how many triple crown jerseys do you have?
Oh, I never bought the jersey, but I've done them a few years. I've got like nine double centuries.
Nice.
I use them for training. They're fun.
Of course, yeah, of course.
Like painful but fun.
Now we had talked briefly just about Costa Rica, but you also did another double down in Ecuador as well.
Yeah, I did Ecuador. So in the ultra triathlon world, apart from 515 and Ultraman, all right, they had the IUTA, with the International Ultra Triathlon Association.
Right.
And they used to have a number of events in the year. So you would have one in France, one in Canada, one in Ecuador, one in Germany, and one in Austria, and then a little later on, one in the USA. So there was a circuit people did. I stumbled onto it completely by mistake, but Ecuador, that was, they don't have electricity at elevation. So when the night goes down, the little paper bags with lights go in the middle of the road. And that bike course was done on a racing track for racing cars.
Cool.
So it wasn't just a round oval track. It was curvy and twisty. And at night
like an F1 track.
Yeah, and it was pitch black at night. So you swam 4.8 miles. And I remember my friend Arthur Puckrin from England, the water was so cold, he did backstroke the entire time. He would not put his head in the water. And they changed it because it was too dangerous to swim right across. It was too cold.
Yeah.
So I had these kids helping me, and they would ask me, "What do you need?" I went, "I want hot water to pour down my suit," and I go back out and do the race. But it's very humbling when you go to countries like that. Besides the race itself, I remember being able to feed 15 kids with a couple of dollars.
Right.
And the market, if you want a chicken, they give you one that's alive and they kill it for you and they give it to you with feathers and everything. So cultural, amazing. Yeah. The racing was amazing. And the people, very warm and friendly. Ecuador was a beautiful place to visit, beautiful place to race.
Now, when you were doing these different races in the IUTA, did you also get to like a top ranking or a world ranking at some point?
I did at one point. At one point, very briefly, for 1 point, I was ranked number 1. Just based on the numbers of how many you do and how many you finish. So, and I've done some triple Ironman, and I had won the Levis double. I won that one. And so for a brief, and I was the champion of the Americas when I won the double in Quebec. I was the champion of the Americas. So that was a pretty cool thing right there to be ranked like that. I did the double Ironman in Austria, triple Ironman in Austria. I did several doubles in Canada. I did 2 triples in France. And it's amazing. It's nothing like anything. You have no idea unless you're European. I can't even explain it.
Well, we have a lot of European listeners.
It's completely different. So in Europe, you go to race a double Ironman in Austria. I get there, and all the Europeans have got their motorhomes, and they're all camped out around the start-finish line, you know? And if you're visiting, you're going to get a tent to peg up. And they have everything there. Everything they possibly could want is in their motorhome, you know?
Right.
And some people call them, it's like a hamster cage when you race because you swim in laps. So in France, for 7 miles, I swam 222 laps of a pool. And then...
And you counted everyone?
I'm sorry?
You counted everyone?
No, I did not have a counter. We have counters. It feels real special too, because the counters stand there with your flag above them, you know, and they have a little paddle that they put in there if it's your last lap or if you're halfway through.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting to do that. And then on the bicycle, you have X amount of loops that you have to do for 336 miles.
Wow.
So you're always passing the start-finish line. Yeah. And then for the run in France, it was 1 mile circuits. 1 mile, and that's 78 miles in circuits. And what makes it hard is you could stop any time at the finish line before you start again because it's not out, you know. But all the Europeans, they have they're cooking and they have the trailers there. It's amazing to see a lot of people. There's a lot of people that race like that.
Right. Yeah.
Met some amazing, talented athletes.
And that race in France, that's one of the more important races of your lifetime, is it not? Can you tell us more about the race in France and why it holds a special meaning for you?
Oh, well, in 96, I did it because someone told me that there was a triple Ironman and I should go do it. So I went to France and I broke a couple of ribs. I was unable to finish it, but they put me in a helicopter and I was able to look at it. So I have to go back in 97 because I didn't finish it in 96. And in 97, I did...
Sorry, what was the name of this race? Let's establish that.
The Defi de Mondial.
Okay.
De la Endurance.
De la Endurance, okay.
The Fontenelle. And they swam in Grenoble and you got the Alps and you're swimming. Oh, it's unbelievable. And I remember that, I forgot, I don't know whether it was 96 or 97 this happened, but my helmet they hadn't packed my helmet. And I had to cycle from the pool to Fontenelle, which is about 20 miles. And there was a French telecom worker working up a pole. And I was like, Monsieur, chapeau, could I use his helmet? And I cycled 20 miles through France, through Grenoble to Fontenelle with a French telecom helmet. It's a true story. Until I got my helmet that was at the race. But I wasn't allowed to ride my bike without the helmet.
Once again, people just coming to your aid and giving you things to make sure you can do these.
No, it was awesome. Everyone was very friendly. And then the bike ride was 336 miles. I believe there were 11-kilometer loops.
Okay.
And there was one little hill, and I can remember saying, "Oh, just a little bump," you know. At mile 270, that is like a mountain, that little bump. And I remember sitting down and thinking, I cannot do this. I was cold in the middle of the night. It's pitch black. And you're like, why am I doing this? And I really, really wanted to have an athletic visa, you know. I got to finish this, you know. So I finished the bike and I take an hour to sleep. And now it's the 78-mile run. And there was, I can't remember quite how many people, so don't quote me on this, there was about 40, maybe 48 people started the event, something like that.
Okay.
And there was a lot of women in it. Like I think there was 8 or 9 of us. I can't remember exactly. And I was right at the back. I'm off the bike. I'm exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
And just to give you a little bit of how old I am, I had a Walkman with a cassette in it, a little Walkman, little yellow Walkman.
Was your cassette a mixtape?
I can't remember actually. I just remember I had a Walkman.
Yeah.
But hang on, you know what? I missed something out here. Before I went in 97, I went to Nice, France, and I met the British triathlon team. And after doing Nice, France, we went and I went to Monte Carlo, wherever we went to, I forgot what it was, and I tripped off the bus and I really hurt my foot. I hurt it so bad I couldn't put it on the ground. And now I'm going to do a triple Ironman a week later, and I cannot walk. And when I get there, everybody remembers me from 96. Everybody's open their hearts and, I have a place to stay. And I'm not running, I'm just cycling and swimming. And when we started the event the day before, the doctor, he took a syringe and just jabbed my foot like 1,000 times to try and get some anti-inflammatory, And I'm like, well, I'm not going to run on it tomorrow. I'm going to be swimming 7 miles. Right. I'm going to be cycling 336. I'm not going to use it. So when it finally came to the run, it was like, oh my gosh, I hope I can run. And I did the first marathon, the second marathon. And then when I did the third marathon and I finished it, I will never forget that. I had the whole town of Fontenelle behind me. I had all the athletes there. I had maybe my Puerto Rican flag. I can't tell you, I was the last official finisher. I think I was number 28. And I'd passed some of the other women that I thought for sure would be able to smash me down. And they were ahead of me by 2 marathons, some of them, and they hadn't finished. And I finished. And I was so elated. And that year, Eric Seedhouse was racing. And he said, you should do Ultraman. It's a great race. I've done it and I love it. This was in 98. Yeah. But I'd qualified for Ironman. And I can't remember the exact story, but my friend Bob Bendine had qualified. I qualified by doing Nice. And there was some kind of loophole that we could not race for Puerto Rico. We have to race for our own country because of our passports. And so I was like, that's it. I'm doing Ultraman. So in 98, I did Ultraman. And I've never looked back. It's a very special race.
Oh, yeah. Well, all of these races that you've been talking about and all these experiences that you had when you went out on this journey to find yourself, this almost didn't happen for you. This journey to go find yourself came at the end of another darker journey in your life. And this is something that you've shared in the past as part of your story. So I'm just wondering if maybe you don't mind just jumping back a little bit for us, because in the past, we've had many people on the podcast that, they exchange one thing for another. It would usually becomes ultra sport. And your story is similar again. And you've come through what was a very serious health issue for you. So maybe you can just give us a little bit of the background of that and what was happening for you.
I've always been an overachiever. When I was growing up and I was little, my mom worked very hard. When she got married, we were publicans, and they looked after bars and hotels and stuff like that. And we were the kids who just follow them around. And so I grew up in the hotel industry. So I grew up in pubs and bars and hotel. And by the time I was 8, it was just presumed that I was going to be a pastry chef, that I'm a pastry chef. I was always a very high achiever. I was making sure that my brothers were okay, making sure that I had good grades at school. And then one bright and sunny day of 15 years old, I got some news that shocked me, and I don't know how it happened because you don't just sit down and say, but suddenly I had anorexia nervosa. Back then, if I was to look back, I didn't know I had anorexia. I'm a normal person, you know.
Right.
But yeah, I got anorexia and I had it really bad. I've been hospitalized many, 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 many times in um, institutions. I've been force fed. I've been tube up my nose fed. I've been on bed rest for months at a time. I've had all dignity stripped from me. I was arrested by the police once under a mental health act that if you're a danger to yourself, they can put a hold on you, and I ended up in a mental institution for a couple of months, and I was unable to get out because of the hold. I was a very low weight, and for 10 years of my life, I was struggling with an eating disorder, and I got really low in weight. I don't know if it's right to share how low I was, but if you look at my name and see pictures, you'll understand how low I was. I could not stand up, and the last muscle to cannibalize itself was my heart, and ended up in hospital again. I really shouldn't be alive. My grandfather used to come and visit me every day. It tore my family up a lot. They had a lot of psychiatrists and wanted to do subject tests, and just amazed at how thin I was. I used to walk around with that pole in my feet. I spent a couple of Christmases in hospital, and then I would get out all fattened up, and I would fall back into my old way.
Right.
Oh, that's Mary's daughter. She's an anorexic pastry chef. You know, I got a job down in the Savoy Hotel in London. Yeah, I got really sick down there, and the head chef would make me asparagus at 12 noon. He would call me from pastry, said, Suzy, it's time to eat. And I would go up there. Not many people can say the head chef of the Savoy Hotel made them lunch. But yeah, and all the time I'm studying to be a pastry chef. I went to College of Westminster and I studied sugar, and I can pull and blow sugar, and I make three-tiered wedding cakes, and I can make lots of different desserts. It's what I'm trained in.
Right.
But yeah, I was just really sick, and some of my memories of the mental institutions are where you sign a release, you go in, and they put you on bed rest, and you have a list of things that you'd like, and then they turn it upside down. So the least important is first. So you put a little bit of weight on, you get this. You put a bit more weight on, you might get a visitor. There was no TV in there. I had an art therapist, a psychiatrist, psychologist. I had a dietitian. I thought they were trying to poison me. I wouldn't eat mashed potato because I don't know what's inside that mashed potato, what they were injecting it with. But yeah, it was a difficult time in my life. I mean,
and can I ask, was there one thing that finally turned it around for you? Was there something that helped you to overcome the thoughts in your head?
Absolutely.
What was that?
I was put in a commune where they put you in and you make wooden bowls, you make soft toys. And I lived with schizophrenics. I lived with heroin addicts. I didn't weigh enough to get out, but my grandfather had said to me, Suzy, why don't you just go around the world like your brother did, backpacking? Because I don't want my oldest granddaughter to die in a hospital. I said, I'm not going to die. I really didn't think I was that bad.
Right.
So I got to 80 pounds and I was able to leave the hospital, and I got myself a ticket and I went to Bangkok. And during my enlightening journey around the Southeast Asia, Australia, Fiji, blah, 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 I realized that there's nobody pointing fingers at me. I was responsible for me. When I scuba dive, I'm responsible for breathing. I'm responsible for how I get through it. And then there's triathlons. There's no one can tell me to go fast, go slow. triathlons, they consume me. Oh, big time. Because now I have a way to channel all my ADD into sport. But I left the hospital, went around the world, left the stigma, because I do believe, I don't know if anybody else believes it, but I personally believe that when you have such a mental problem, and I had a big eating disorder, I don't know how I'm still alive, but I am, and I'm grateful, that I had to leave what I knew and make a new life.
Right.
Because people were always, that's Mary's daughter. That's an anorexic pastry chef. And I felt they were always watching me what I was eating or not eating would be the case. But when I left and went around the world, I came back. I didn't look like my passport photograph, that's for sure. And I just found myself, I loved the ocean. I wanted to be a fish. And here I am. I'm now a scuba instructor. And then I get stuck in Puerto Rico and I start doing triathlons. Imagine that. And I am very driven, extremely driven.
Yeah.
So if I like something, I'm going to see it through. So example, triathlons, good chunk of my life. I'm a scuba instructor. I just got my 30th anniversary as a scuba instructor.
Oh, awesome.
I see things through.
Yeah.
Ultraman, I loved it. Went 15 times.
15 times. Yeah.
I don't just do it something once. I keep on doing it and doing it and doing it because I truly, truly love it and embrace it and everything about it. And that's putting all my compulsion and efforts into sport or into my scuba diving or into coaching, because that's what makes me tick.
Right.
Nothing having to be the food anymore.
Was there a time when you realized, like, hey, I think I got this thing under control? Or do you still look over your shoulder at your eating disorder and be like, I could go back there?
I could go back, but I have it under control. Even trying to say. So I'm very like, if I don't do anything for a few days, then I cut down my eating. If I'm going for a big bike ride, then I increase my eating. Yeah. It's all based on my activity. Yeah. But my poor husband, I tell you, he takes a lot from me, but he'd be like, I can't eat that. I haven't done anything today to deserve that. So in the back, it's always there. It's like an alcoholic. It's always there in their background.
Right. But was there a time though as well when you're like, that's my past? Like, was there any time where it clicked in?
Yeah, when I became a triathlete, that's my past. Yeah. And I'm very open about my past when it comes to anorexia, because I do not want young girls. And I have helped a guy in Australia that also had anorexia. He reached out to me, and he's now a triathlete in Australia. Oh yeah. But yeah, all I do is I want to help people. I want to help people that have young women and triathletes and any athlete that's a young kid, not to be so hard on yourself and not to the body image thing, blow that away.
Coming up in the next segment, we talk Ultraman Hawaii. Suzy just returned from Kona and has a few thoughts on this year's race, as well as a reflection on her 15 times that she towed the line as an athlete. Today's episode is brought to you by Ultra Tri-Fest Canada, where you can race the traditional 515, a 515 relay, or a 515 non-stop. There's also a 360K format, which does not require a crew. And because we are hosting you in Whistler, there is also an Ultra Gravel race. Check us out at ultratrifestcanada.com. And if you've always wanted to go to a 515 World Championship, check out the information on the website about our new Worldwide Championships, which is available to every 515 racer of all time. Again, that is at ultratrifestcanada.com, coming to Whistler, British Columbia in August 2024. Earlier, you were talking about how you met an amazing group of athletes by doing these different events and going to these things. And you mentioned one who had said that, oh, you might as well go do Ultraman now that you're ready for that. And when you couldn't represent Puerto Rico, you decided to skip out on Ironman and do Ultraman. Can you tell us again who that was that told you to go do Ultraman?
It was Eric Seedhouse, and he has won the Ultraman event. He is also won triples and doubles. Very accomplished athlete. And so in '98, I applied for Ultraman Hawaii and looked for the registration form and filled out a purple piece of paper and mailed off my entry fee. And I was accepted based on my triple Ironman finish.
That's great. Yeah, and that's the old way of doing it for people that might not have been around as haven't done it for 15 times. That was the way they would do it. They would expect you to mail them a check, and then you would find out if you got in or not.
Yep, that's it.
Well, as we're recording this right now, you've actually just recently gotten back from Hawaii. You were at the Ultraman Hawaii event again, and Cheryl and Dave and Ultra Mama Jane all surprised you with a little something at the event this year. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, we were at Thanksgiving breakfast and announcing all the athletes that were to be racing. And they opened up by inducting people into the Ultra Hall of Fame for Ultraman World Championships. And we just celebrated Miro from Slovenia. And we were all chatting and talking, and someone goes, Suzy, they're talking about you. And I went, no, they're talking about me. I'm not going to go into that. And then I heard 15 and Puerto Rico. And I was like, OMG. They're talking about me. I was gobsmacked. I was speechless, and I do like to talk. I could not say a word. I went up there, I got my award. I cried like a baby. I brought the award down, sat down, and I was shell-shocked.
Yeah, that's like amazing. That. So what does it mean to you to receive an award like that from these people and this event?
I think it's huge. I think that I've given 15 years of my life as an athlete, and I've always tried to help get my sponsors to sponsor product support. And then I've gone back year after year, and I've helped athletes, and I've helped this year with staff for Cheryl, and I got to drive Mama Jane around on day 1 and day 3. I really feel like, wow, I was just gobsmacked. I mean, I was just like, all those years of going back to Hawaii, and I really loved the race. I got acknowledged for those times when I finished it, and then I've gone back and helped, and it's special. It means people are appreciative, or people realize that you put a lot of hours and hard work into an event. And sometimes I feel like I'm really not an athlete because I really don't look like what I think an athlete should look like. I've had people ask me, how come you're sponsored by Hammer Nutrition? What do they see in you? And I'll be like, I finish my races. I'm a happy person. I give out product support. Why do people sponsor you? I don't know. Yeah. I just go out there and I like to be an athlete. I have had sometimes I can be a bit insecure, like, so getting this ball or getting this award to me is huge because it shows that, yeah, I'm a real athlete, I really did what I did. And I'm in the Ultraman World Championship Hall of Fame for Hawaii. And it's good feeling. It's like, wow. Yeah.
And I think that's one of the great things about the ultra runners and the 5:15 distance people is that they don't all look like Simon Cochran. There's a lot of different people out there doing it for a lot of different reasons.
I just do it because I love the sport. It was just always a challenge. I love going back to Hawaii. Coming from England, when you go to Hawaii, you'd be like a millionaire. People just don't go to Hawaii. We go to Europe. But I couldn't keep on going back and back if it wasn't with the help I've got from sponsors and from the local community of Kailua Kona, who have helped me, put me up, who've crewed for me, who have just been amazing, and my sponsors. that have helped me with product support. And then when I got married, everything changed. My husband went out there and he supported me.
Yeah.
And before I got married to him, he was supporting me, and I was having a terrible time with a stomach problem. And he literally turned around to me and said, "You go through one more pair of underwear and you're going to be wearing my Tonys." And I was like, "Ooh, not good." And so we weren't even engaged. And I can remember him later on saying, "Hey, I think we should get married." It was something like that. It wasn't a full blown out candlelit with a good Hawaiian sunset. It was like, you need someone to look after yourself after what I saw today on the Queen K. I'm like, okay, good talk. But
so you kind of got engaged at an Ultraman?
Yeah, I did. I got engaged that day. He popped the question after I was showed him my true self of running 52 miles down the highway.
Now, you mentioned that before you, Miro Krieger was also inducted into the Hall of Fame. What's your relationship to him over the years racing? What can you say about him and his induction into the Hall of Fame?
Miro raced when I raced. So we're for like 98, 99, 2000, all those years, 2001, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Those are like, I know, right? We're old timers. Right? Like there's a completely new breed of people racing now.
Yeah.
So Miro is more than well deserved. He's won it once. He has one of the fastest times for the run. He's very in high regard in Slovenia, where he's from. He's a great athlete and coach. And so we were really happy for him when he got that award, because last year, Ribeiro from Brazil,
Alex Ribeiro?
Alexandra Ribeiro, thank you. He got the award with Shanna Armstrong, both well deserved because they both won it like 5 or 6 or 7 times.
Yeah. Multiple times.
And so when he got the award this year, it was deserving because I can remember him trying to, run with Ribeiro down the Queen K, trying to be fast, both of them, head to head. So it was really nice that he got it. It was awesome. Yeah. I just didn't expect my name to come after his name.
Well, obviously you're deserving as well.
Well, I've officially finished it 12 times, and I do have 5 little gold men for winning my age group. So
yeah.
I've also got a Ohana award last year. And I was the very first recipient of the Hanu Award. Oh. And that is the last official finisher of Ultraman gets a little Hanu, a little carved Hanu. And I have mine. I was the first recipient of that.
You were a volunteer this year, as you said. Can you tell me some of the highlights from the race for you this year, like watching it, not racing it?
Watching them come out of the swim, watching them get on their bikes, watching them come across the line on day 2, watching people that were unofficial finishers finish the 52.4 mile run. Mm-hmm. That's inspirational in itself. And then watching, forgive me, I forgot the guy's name, the guy that won.
Simon Cochran.
Simon and the lady, was it Amy?
Amy Robitaille.
They were on fire. I watched Amy running on day 3. She was not even at the 10K mark, and she looked like she was running a 5K. She was running. She wasn't jogging. She was running, and it was awesome to see that level of caliber in this competition. She's a runner. Great. It was awesome. It was good to see. It was just good to see the athletes competing. I want them all to finish. I get sad when they don't make the cutoff. You're like, oh, come on, freeze the clock. 11:59:59. We can do this, One poor girl, she missed the cutoff by 4 minutes on day 1. 4 minutes. Oh my gosh, that'll haunt her for the rest of her life. And she came out of the water in 5 hours and 5 minutes. That means was
that Eiko?
Yeah, the Japanese
woman? Yeah.
And she had the most gorgeous smile and laugh, I was just like, oh. So on day 3, I made sure that she wasn't going to quit. Keep winning. And on day 3 too. But yeah, it's awesome to see because I understand. That's the difference. I understand that what it's like to run 52.4 miles, don't forget the 0.4, as an unofficial finisher. Because you don't have to run that. You're still going to have the same result. But to do it, it's fulfilling, you know. You go across the finish line on day 3.
Yeah.
And so, you know, for me to watch that's very emotional, you know, and they did it. They do that run unconditional. And that for me is amazing. That's what Ultraman's all about.
So I just want to play a little something for you that goes with that story.
Okay.
Of finishing that 52.4 mile run.
Go by the way, she's won that event. She has raced not only there, she's raced in Nice. And as we mentioned, the fact that she has come here year after year after doing double centuries. She's done the Boston Marathon, 50-mile trail runs, and loves to come and challenge herself on 3 occasions. She has been second overall here at the Ultraman World Championships. This is her 15th time coming to a finish line. 12 original official finishes for Suzy Degazon from Puerto Rico coming in. Lives, of course, in Covina, California. Our husband, and of course, Montana and Cheyenne there at the line with her.
So I'm sure you've seen that clip many a times. That's your no. Oh, okay.
No. You got
so
me
that's your
15th
finish or your 15th race at Ultraman, and obviously that's Steve King calling you in. What is that feeling like when Steve King calls you in on a finish line?
It's awesome. You have to savor the line. I always tell people, never sprint across the finish line. Savor every damn moment, because if you weren't sprinting out there, don't sprint across the finish line. Steve King and Bubblehead Steve. Yeah, I'm telling you that it's just magical. And you can't understand that unless you've been there, but he is so great in knowing everybody and your background, and it's just great. In fact, when you're running down that chute, I don't really hear Steve. All I can hear is like, I finished. But yeah, that's very nice of you. Thank you.
Well, I mean, that's obviously probably one of the memorable events in your career in Hawaii. But do you have any other races that stand out for you? For whatever reason, a finish, a friendship made, adversity overcome. What are some of the ones that kind of stand out for you at racing in Hawaii?
Oh, my first one would stand out because I learned so much about being an athlete and respecting your crew. I was just so tired. They would give me a bottle, I'd drop it on the floor. I wouldn't listen to them. I remember going up to the volcano on day 1, and I came to the sign where it says Volcano National Park. We still got about 10 more miles to go when you get there. Mm-hmm. And I just stopped. I'm like, I'm here. I'm not going any further. I'm done. And I'm like, and they were like, I came out Dave from Dave's Bike Shop, and I was Grant Miller, the owner of Bike Works. He was my crew chief, and I felt so sorry for these people. I mean, they literally had talked me into doing 10 more miles on a bike. And then there was one time that Timothy Carlston, his daughter, was going to run with me. And Timothy worked for Triathlete magazine and Slow Twitch, and his daughter's running with me. And she said, "Dad, she just sat down on the road like a stubborn donkey and wouldn't move." I got tired, you know. But yeah, just all these things, or swimming the 6.2 miles and seeing a pod of dolphins following you, or better still, my first year I had a whale.
Oh, wow.
And so all these things in Ultraman, or I remember running down one time the Queen K, and I'm thinking, I'm on hallowed ground. I'm running where Paula Newby-Fraser has ran, and I'm running where Natasha Badman has ran, and I'm on the same piece of stretch. Or when you get tired, or when the wind comes over the Kohala Mountains, you're like, I think Lomo is the god of wind. And I'd be like, what are you doing here? Like 60 miles an hour, swipe you off the bike, and being blown off the side, nearly blown off the side. Or finishing in record time and being able to see daylight at the volcano. That's a plus.
Nice.
Instead of seeing the night. Or when my husband, he brought his kids over, and so we thought we'd get the deluxe room in the volcano house. And so the kids were so excited. It's taken me a long time to get to the volcano. It's already pitch black. We settle in, and the kid goes, I don't think this is the room, Dad. I think we couldn't pay for this room. It's like a Motel 6 room. So we go down and we complain about the room, and the guy goes, oh, but in the morning when you open those blinds, you see the whole of the park. And we're like, we're leaving at 5:30 a.m. It's just like little things like that, Or my younger stepdaughter, I was running down the first time she watched, and she says to her dad, "Why is Suzy in so much pain? Just put her in the car and we'll just take it down the road a little bit, because she didn't understand."
Yeah.
When I was racing one year in Hanakaha, and the fog came so thick I couldn't see the front of my bike. It was so thick, the fog. And I had Tom and Gardner, and Gardner calls Jane. She goes, "Our athlete can't see anything. Can't she just sit in the car for a while?" And she's like, "No, I got to keep cycling, or when one time my crew had gone ahead and Corey Folk had stopped. He goes, "Are you okay, Suzy?" And I was like, "Oh, my crew's gone. I'm so tired." He goes, and so he goes, "Well, here." And so we sat on the side of the road before we got to Hilo, and we're in sleeping bags, drinking cold hot chocolate, waiting for my crew to come because I had something wrong with my bike. Oh my gosh!
And that was Corey Folk, you said?
Yeah, I did so many good memories. Or CJ Ong doing a handstand at the finish line. I mean, all these golden oldies that I've met and still friends with. Rick Kent, amazing. Rick Kent and I, one year we got pulled off the course. I think it was 2000 when there was a really bad current, and nearly half the field got eliminated on the swim. I think I took like 5.5 hours, and I think Rick took like 6.5, maybe 7, because I remember him saying, "Oh, it's like it's just from the English Channel in the same time." And, the rule is that, after 12 hours, you turn into a pumpkin, you can't just keep on the road. And so he'd caught up to me, and we got the message from Jane, "Hey, you guys are not going to make it at 6:30. You need to get in your team vehicle and come." And we're like, "Well, we don't want to do that. If you don't do it, you can't finish day 2. And it's dangerous being out there if you don't have people with you, yeah? So we had to get in the car that year and go across the line with 4 wheels instead of 2. But I remember him always saying that he could have swum the English Channel in that time. But yeah, there's so many good memories of training. Just all the people that have helped me out, people that have come out to run with me and finished with me at the finish line. My friend Janine, I've known her for nearly 20 years. And every time I go scuba diving with her, with Kona Hanu. I've just, these people, they make it for you, It's not just about the race anymore. It's about the people that you meet and see.
Exactly.
And so this year I didn't know anybody in the race hardly. I only knew the Rat Pack because they're my era. I knew some of the others from doubles or from the Ultraman, but predominantly was a pretty new field. Right. It was like a load of names. You're like, who are these people? And it's awesome. Yeah, you got new blood coming in. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of the people that are listening to this podcast, they're not only looking for other races to do, but they're also looking for advice on how to do them. So 15 races in Hawaii. What are your top 3 best advice things that you would tell people that are going to come do this race for the first time? Or any 5:15 race.
Or any. If you are wanting to finish it, you have to take it seriously enough. It's not just about running, biking, or swimming. It's about nutrition. You have to have good nutrition on whatever it is that you do. You need to have good nutrition to fuel yourself through those miles. You need to train adequately like you're going to race it. There's no good running 52 miles in Alaska in freezing cold weather if you're going to go to Hawaii. So you need to be conditioned. And you got to, if you're training in Hawaii, you got to be prepared to roll with weather changes. It's not always going to be easy.
It pretty much rains there every year.
And not just that. I mean, it's rainy. It can be windy. It can be overcast. It can be cold. It can be hot. It can be no wind and deadly hot. Mm-hmm. So and with the swim, I can't guarantee you an easy passage for 6.2 miles from Kona to Keauhou Bay.
Definitely not on that swim.
And if you're a fast person, you're probably going to miss a lot of the inclement things that happen out there, because the faster people get to do the swim, woof, woof, in. Then the slower people in the 4-hour range, then we started to get a change of current. We started to get a little bit more pick up water and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think that really we should all get awards if we come out of the water in 4.5. Yeah, that's my time. But seriously though, when it comes to ultra racing, I think that you should embrace it like a lifestyle, and that you get what you put into the race. You get what you. So for me, if I was to ever want to consider going back again, I'd have to start doing long bike rides again for 100 milers and back to back, runs. And it becomes a time where time management is of the utmost importance, and when you're married and you have kids, then you have to, it's a delicate balance. You can't just be, it's all about me, you have to be able to segment when you can cycle, run and swim, and also enjoy your family time, which I think that's important too. So nutrition is important for that course. I think whatever course that you do, you should, if you get there early enough, take a car and ride it. Get to know where the hills are going to be, get to know where you're sleeping that night. It's going to put your mind in a better mindset. So ride the course, how you're going to eat and how you're going to nutrition, and have if you're going to have a crew captain, make sure he knows what he's doing. Make sure your crew captain don't just give him a handful of bags and stick him in the car. Make sure that there's labels and they're easily got. Hey, I want my hand warmers. Make sure that the hand warmers are there. Oh, I want my leggings. Make sure he knows where to get them.
Right.
Because a good crew captain is priceless getting you across that line. So
I agree.
Be nice to you. Be nice to your crew captain.
Yeah. Well, it certainly seems like, while not a traditional life, you've lived your best life from the stories you've told today. What's in your future? What's in your racing future? Is there anything still on your bucket list? What does a day-to-day life of Suzy look like these days? What's going on in your life these days? You finally grew up and settled down. So tell us, what's a day in your life look like, and what's in the future?
Okay, well, I no longer ride my bike for 300 miles a week or run 100-mile weeks or swim 15 miles a week. I have 2 min pins. One's called Hammer, one called Polar, my 2 dogs. In fact, I have Hammer's right here. And I think Polar is sitting right behind me, aren't you, Polar? And there she is. Say hi. Say hi.
Hello,
so they're
Polar.
right there. They're plotted to me. I'm a master swimmer, so I try to swim when I'm in California, not working on Catalina Island. I swim with San Dimas Aquatics. I enjoy that camaraderie. I ride my bike occasionally to get around. I'll get on the bike and do a 50-miler just for fun. There's just no concrete thing, but I'm liking running again. I signed up for 50K at Catalina Island on January 6th. I just did the last Catalina triathlon a couple of months ago, and then I did a 13-mile run. Wasn't expecting to do either of those. I just signed up like the week before. I thought, let's just do the triathlon and that. And it's so cool racing when nobody really knows you. Just have fun. It's just like take time, smell the roses. So when I work, I try to run every morning. I run in Catalina. I try to, I've just started ocean swimming again in Catalina, obviously a little bit different from Hawaii, a bit colder. And I'm going to get my mountain bike and start mountain biking at Catalina. But at the moment, my life looks like I'll be back next year to help whoever wants my help at Ultraman, or maybe I'll be on the staff again. I like helping out with Rebecca's Epic 5 when I met Chad, your friend Chad. I like helping out with those races. I wouldn't mind at one point doing the Epic 5 run, the 50K on each island. I kind of like the suffering on that one. Watch that, so that appeals to me. But yeah, I try to I coach a little. I was a high school coach for 9 years. I just stopped this year. And so I just want to inspire people, and I'm helping one of my workmates do the 50-miler in January.
Oh, nice.
I'm thinking I'm going to do the 50K, but he wants me to do 50 miles. I'm not sure I want to do it. But and I'm still sponsored by companies. So like this year when I went to Ultraman, I was able to take Cool and Fit for the athletes. I took SBR Sports shampoos, conditioners, and sprays for chapping, and Hammer Nutrition sponsored the event anyway. So it was a good deal for me to go to Ultraman and be able to take sponsored products and help. So I'm very heavily involved in sport, and I hope I will be very athletic and healthy enough to be able to do what I love. I scuba dive almost 6 to 7 days a week. During summer, really busy. I'm 59.
Is that your main job still, scuba diving?
My main job, yeah. And I'm 59 years old. I'll be 60 next year. And I got to do something to be 60. I don't know what it is yet, but I'm going to do something crazy. I don't know what it is. I'm going to look at my racing calendar and see what's on there that could be crazy enough for me to do. But I have to do something.
Oh, great.
And I'm married to a great guy. My husband, Al, he's an archer. He does archery, a bow hunter. He's the president of a big club down here of Uncle Bowman. And he's always bragging about his wife that just got her Hall of Fame, bro. But yeah, I have some adorable grandkids. I was getting ready for Christmas at the moment. I've just spent 4 days getting the house ready for Christmas. You can't see it in this room because it's all in the other room. But I love the holidays and I love doing sport. As long as I am alive and healthy, I will always swim, bike, and run, and scuba dive.
Thank you so much, and congratulations on your Hall of Fame entry. I think that's just fantastic, and what a great trophy you got there with that bull.
Oh, I got that bull, and I hope to meet you one day.
Yeah,
and absolutely. Thank you for your time. I'm sorry I give you a hard time now because you're going to have to do a lot of editing.
There's going to be a lot of editing, yeah. That's okay.
All right, I do thank you. Thank you so much.
Hey, if you liked what you heard today, please tell a friend and be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. We'd appreciate it if you'd rate and review the show while you're there. Drop the names of the people you think we should interview and we'll get in touch with them and make that happen. Thank you for listening to 515, the Ultra Podcast, a production of 55 Enterprises. Now really, go subscribe now before you forget.